Hey everyone and welcome to my channel. Today, I'm sharing a story that's unlike anything you've heard before. It's emotional. It's intense. It's about a man who lost everything and decided to rebuild the past with nothing but his mind, his grief, and his obsession. The story is called The Man Who Rebuilt Yesterday, and trust me, it's going to take you on a powerful journey. If you enjoy deep stories filled with emotion, science, and heart, please hit that like button, subscribe, and share it with someone who needs to hear it. Your support means the world. Now, let's begin. The Man Who Rebuilt Yesterday. A story about loss, obsession, and the quest to relive what once was. No one ever noticed the boy who walked home alone. Sammy moved through the world like fog, silent, slow, and easy to overlook. In his early years, his teachers barely remembered his name. The neighbors only recognized him as the quiet kid with the big eyes. Even the city itself, an aging industrial town with rusted buildings and cracked streets, seemed to forget he existed. He didn't mind. In fact, he preferred the silence. His home was a two-room apartment tucked above a dying bar, where the sounds of broken jukeboxes and drunk laughter bled into his dreams. His father, Haroun, worked long shifts at the metal plant and came home coated in the scent of fire and oil. His mother, Layla, cleaned offices until sunrise and spent what little energy she had left cooking for her children and folding their clothes with trembling hands. Life didn't offer them joy, it offered them survival, and survival required silence, sacrifice, and scars. But even in that gray existence, Sammy had one color in his world. Her name was Lena. His little sister was only 3 years younger, but her spirit was older than the stars. She could turn sadness into a song and boredom into magic. When she laughed, it sounded like something sacred. To Sammy, she was the reason he got out of bed each morning. Every plan he had for the future involved her. She was the only person who truly saw him. Then came the fire. It was late October when the smoke came. The heater had shorted in the middle of the night. Sammy remembered the heat against his face, the screaming, the confusion. The fire spread through the building like a curse. He tried to wake his parents, he really did, but the smoke was thick and the flames were greedy. In the end, he barely managed to pull Lena out through the narrow bathroom window before the explosion took the rest. They watched from across the street as everything vanished. Their home, their parents, their childhood. Gone in one night. After that, the world got colder. Sammy and Lena were moved to a shelter. The system, broken and overwhelmed, didn't know what to do with 2 grieving children who had no relatives willing to take them. They were just files in a cabinet somewhere. The shelter was loud, cruel, and filled with children who had seen too much. But Sammy did what he had to. He protected Lena. He shielded her. He gave her his food when she was hungry and his blanket when she was cold. And then, she got sick. It started with a cough, then a fever, then dizziness. He begged the staff to call a doctor. They shrugged him off. It's probably the flu. Just rest, they said. But it wasn't. By the time they realized it was something worse, it was too late. She died in his arms one rainy afternoon, whispering his name through cracked lips. She asked him to tell her a story as her eyes dimmed like fading candles. And he did. He told her one about the stars and how she'd become one. After that, Sammy didn't cry. He didn't scream. He simply disappeared on the inside. Something had broken in him. But in the silence of that heartbreak, something else began to grow. After Lena's death, Sammy left the shelter. He didn't tell anyone. No one noticed. He walked out through the side gate just before midnight, carrying only a backpack with a broken photograph of his sister and the thin coat she used to wear. He wandered the city streets for days, living off scraps, sleeping under bridges, in abandoned cars, in empty train stations. But his mind was never asleep. It was racing. He began watching people, how they talked, how they lied, how they loved, how they broke. He became obsessed with understanding the human heart. He wanted to know why people hurt, why they grieve, why they forget. He spent hours in public libraries, reading psychology textbooks and neuroscience journals, stealing pages when the librarians weren't looking. He read about memory, trauma, hallucinations, consciousness. He started sketching ideas, devices that could preserve thoughts, machines that could record feelings, blueprints of things far beyond the world's current technology. By the time he was 18, he was living in the basement of an abandoned warehouse, surrounded by broken computers and scavenged lab equipment. He taught himself engineering through stolen books and online forums accessed from cracked second-hand laptops. His mind was a furnace now, burning with ambition, fueled by grief. He never wanted money. He never wanted fame. He wanted one thing only: to see them again. To hear Lena's laugh. To sit at that scratched wooden dinner table while his mother stirred the soup and his father grunted about factory politics. He didn't care if it was real. He didn't care if it was just code, projection, simulation. He wanted the feeling back. That warmth. That safety. And so he decided he would build a door. Not a literal door, but a machine. A passage to the past, or at least a replica of it. Not a time machine, but something deeper, something psychological, emotional, neurological. A system that could recreate the past through a combination of memories, recordings, artificial intelligence, and deep neural mapping. He called it Project Yesterday. Years passed. Sammy became a ghost in the scientific world, appearing in underground conferences under fake names, presenting impossible theories. He was laughed at, ridiculed, dismissed as a madman. But a few scientists, outcasts like him, saw something in his eyes. Obsession, yes, but brilliance too. One of them, Dr. Naresh, offered him a place in a secret lab beneath an abandoned university campus. There, away from the world's mockery, Sammy found what he needed: peace, power, and parts. He built alone. He never explained his purpose to the others. They thought he was working on neural simulation for therapeutic use. They never saw the room behind the red wall, the one only he could open. The room he built with silent, reverent hands. The room he called the chamber. It had no lights. Just a chair, a visor, and a control panel. Connected to a powerful AI. Trained with thousands of hours of voice recordings. Fed with every photo, video, diary page, and memory he could find or remember. Every small detail of his childhood reconstructed, digitally, emotionally, perfectly. He poured his soul into that machine. And finally, he sat in the chair. He pulled the visor over his face. He hit enter. And the world changed. He opened his eyes to find himself standing in his old apartment. The paint on the walls was still peeling. The dusty lamp in the corner still flickered like it always did. The air smelled of rosemary and frying oil. And there, by the table, was his mother. "Habibi," she said, smiling softly, "wash your hands. Dinner is almost ready." Tears burst from Sammy's eyes like a dam collapsing. He staggered forward, unable to breathe. She looked real. Her movements, her voice, her warmth. It wasn't a hologram. It wasn't a dream. It was her. Or, at least, the closest thing his mind could accept as her. His father sat in the corner, muttering about electricity bills. Lena came running down the hall, her braids swinging. "Sammy," she shouted, jumping into his arms. He collapsed to the ground, holding her like a man drowning in time. The simulation was perfect, and yet, it was all code. He knew it, and he didn't care. For months, he lived between the real world and the simulated one. Outside, he was the quiet, distant scientist who never joined meetings. But inside his machine, he was home. He celebrated Lena's birthdays again. He fixed the roof with his father. He danced with his mother in the kitchen. He created entire days that never happened, full of joy that never existed. But the mind is a fragile thing. The line between memory and fantasy began to blur. Sometimes, Sammy stayed in the simulation too long. Days passed in real time while he relived a single afternoon. His body grew weaker. His face became pale and sunken. The others noticed, but they didn't understand. Until one day, someone broke the lock. Dr. Naresh found the chamber. He entered, and what he saw terrified him. A world too perfect, too tailored, too personal. He confronted Sammy. "This isn't therapy," Naresh said. "This is madness. You've created an emotional drug. You're addicted to ghosts." "They're not ghosts," Sammy whispered. "They're my family." Naresh begged him to shut it down. He warned him, staying too long would damage his real memories. The brain couldn't keep track of what was real and what was designed. Sammy nodded, but inside, he was already gone. He kept going back, even after the lab was shut down, even after the others left, even after funding stopped and power began to fail. He rewired the whole system to run off solar. He sealed himself inside the lab and disappeared. Years passed. Legends grew. Some said he died in the lab. Others said he vanished. Some believed he found a way to actually travel through time. But the truth was far more heartbreaking. He lived inside the past he built. A world of laughter and dinner tables and warm hugs that never really came back. But to Sammy, they were real enough. And every time he closed his eyes and that door opened once more, he smiled. Because in that world, Lena was still alive. And that was the man who rebuilt yesterday. A story about loss, love, and the impossible lengths one man went to, just to feel close to the ones he lost. If this story touched your heart, even just a little, please like, share, and subscribe to my channel. Your support helps me keep writing, keep creating, and keep dreaming. Thank you for listening. And until next time, stay kind, stay curious, and never stop imagining.